In today's story, Layla Harris, a shy and quiet girl, is dared by her teachers to play the violin in front of the whole school. What begins as a joke quickly turns into a powerful moment of self-discovery and confidence. Watch as Layla proves everyone wrong and shows them her true talent. It was just another typical day at school for Layla Harris, a quiet girl who preferred sitting by the window in the back row. She always sat there, with her worn-out violin case tucked carefully under her desk like it was fragile. Her classmates hardly noticed her, and if they did, it was never for any good reason. Layla rarely spoke, only offering a brief word when asked. She was just another quiet girl trying to stay invisible. But that day, things were about to change. It was the fifth period, and Mr. Bennett, the gym teacher, had just announced the upcoming talent show. The school needed performers, and he made it clear that anyone who had a talent should step forward. He half joked, half serious, as if he wasn't even sure why he was bothering. But then something unexpected happened. Ms. Adams, the math teacher, nudged Mr. Bennett and pointed toward Layla's seat, a sly smile creeping on her face. "What about our little violinist?" she teased, loud enough for the class to hear. Her tone was mocking, but there was no mistaking it. It was a dare. Mr. Bennett chuckled and without thinking said, "All right, Layla, why don't you show us what you've got? You've been carrying that violin all year. Let's see if it's worth the wait." The room burst into laughter, the kind that wasn't immediately harsh but crept up quietly, like a sting you didn't feel until later. Layla felt the weight of their laughter. It wasn't funny to her. It was a challenge, a dare they expected her to back down from. Her fingers tightened around her violin case, but she didn't look up. She stayed silent, letting the moment pass. One of the boys in the row ahead whispered something about the violin sounding like a cat screeching, and another mocked the sound of strings. It spread quickly, and Layla felt the heat rise in her chest. Finally, Layla spoke, her voice calm, steady. "I'll do it," she said, as though ordering food at a fast food restaurant. The entire room froze. Even Mr. Bennett, who had been joking, paused. "You serious?" he asked. Layla didn't repeat herself. She didn't need to. She just placed the violin case on her desk and filled out the sign-up sheet for the talent show. Her handwriting neat, her name, Layla Harris, written with precision. The next day, the talent show rehearsal began, and Layla found herself standing in front of the school's gym, a space that felt as big as a stadium. She could hear the echoes of students practicing their acts, some singing, others dancing. The loud music was a stark contrast to the silence she felt. Layla was nervous, but she pushed it down. She was here now, and there was no turning back. Her fingers brushed against the worn-out violin case, as if seeking reassurance. As she stepped forward, she caught sight of Mr. Bennett standing off to the side, watching her. His expression was unreadable. "Whenever you're ready, Layla," he said, his voice surprisingly soft, as though he understood the weight of the moment. The lights dimmed, and the chatter of the students faded into a distant hum. Layla stood there for a moment, her breath shallow. She opened the violin case slowly, carefully, as if the instrument inside held the power to either make or break her. She lifted the violin and placed it under her chin. For a brief moment, she hesitated. The gym was silent now, all eyes on her. The feeling of being watched, of being judged, made her heart race. But then, the first note rang out, pure and clear, cutting through the tension in the air. The sound was soft at first, hesitant, but it grew stronger, more confident. With each stroke of the bow, Layla's confidence began to build. She lost herself in the music, in the familiar motion of playing, the way the violin seemed to speak through her. When the final note echoed through the gym, Layla lowered the violin and opened her eyes. The room was completely silent. For a moment, she thought she had made a mistake, that maybe she hadn't played well enough. But then, a single clap echoed from the back of the room, and then another. And soon the entire gym erupted into applause. Layla couldn't believe it. She stood frozen, the applause washing over her like a wave. She had done it. She had proven herself. And for the first time, she felt seen, truly seen. Mr. Bennett stepped forward, clapping as well. "That was incredible, Layla. You've got something special." His voice was warm, sincere. Layla smiled, a little awkwardly, but it was a smile, and for the first time it felt genuine. After the applause faded, Layla stood still for a moment, still in shock. She had been so sure that she wasn't good enough, that her nerves would ruin everything, but now standing there with the warmth of the applause surrounding her, she couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. She had done it. "You should be proud of yourself," Mr. Bennett said, his eyes warm and proud. "That was an amazing performance, Layla. I knew you had it in you." Layla blinked, her heart swelling with a mix of relief and joy. "Thank you, Mr. Bennett. I didn't think I could do it," he smiled. "You just needed to believe in yourself. Now you've got the confidence. Just keep it up." As Layla packed up her violin, she could hear the other students around her talking excitedly about their own performances. Some were nervous, some were overconfident, but none seemed as calm as Layla felt in that moment. She smiled to herself. This was the beginning of something new. The next week, the day of the talent show arrived. Layla's nerves returned with a vengeance. But this time she wasn't afraid. She had proven to herself that she could do it. She had already won, in her own way. As she walked into the gym, she could see the stage set up, bright lights shining down on it. The other performers were preparing backstage, some pacing nervously, others stretching or rehearsing. Layla took a deep breath and walked toward the side of the stage where Mr. Bennett was standing. "Ready?" he asked, his voice calm but encouraging. Layla nodded. "Yes, I am." Mr. Bennett gave her a reassuring smile. "You've got this. Just remember what we talked about. Trust yourself." Layla smiled back, feeling the weight of his words. She felt stronger, more confident. She had come so far from the shy girl who had been afraid to pick up a violin in front of anyone. The announcer's voice echoed through the gym, calling her name. "Layla Dawson, you're up next." With one final glance at Mr. Bennett, Layla stepped onto the stage, feeling the spotlight on her. The music began to play, and she closed her eyes for a moment. The nervousness was still there, but it didn't control her anymore. She played, and with each note, she poured every ounce of her emotion into the music. The performance was flawless, and as she played the final note, the gym was filled with applause once more. Layla opened her eyes, and this time, she was met with the look of admiration from her peers. Mr. Bennett was the first to stand, clapping loudly. "That's the Layla I know," he shouted over the applause. Layla couldn't help but grin. This was it. She had found her place. In the weeks that followed the talent show, Layla's confidence soared. The once shy girl who had doubted her abilities was now the one others looked up to. She found herself being approached by classmates asking for advice, and even some of the younger students began to seek her out as a role model. One day, Mr. Bennett pulled her aside after class. "Layla, I've been thinking," he began, his voice serious but warm. "You have a real gift for music. You should consider taking it further." Layla blinked in surprise. "You really think so?" she asked, her heart racing at the idea of pursuing music as a career. "I do," Mr. Bennett replied, giving her an encouraging smile. "You've got the potential, Layla. You just need to nurture it. I can help you get started if you want." Layla felt a wave of emotion. She had always dreamed of being a professional musician, but the thought had always seemed so far out of reach. Now with Mr. Bennett's support, it felt more like a real possibility. "Thank you, Mr. Bennett," she said softly, a smile tugging at her lips. "I think I'd like that. I want to try." Over the next few months, Layla dedicated herself even more to her music. She practiced every day, working on improving her skills and experimenting with new techniques. Her performances became more refined, and soon she was invited to perform at local events. At one of these events, Layla had the chance to perform in front of a small audience of professionals. As she finished her set, one of the musicians approached her, his eyes wide with admiration. "That was incredible," he said. "You've got something special. Have you considered recording professionally?" Layla's heart skipped a beat. I haven't thought about it, but now that you mention it, maybe I should. If you're serious about it, I can help you get connected with a studio," the musician offered. "I see a lot of potential in you." Layla felt a surge of excitement. The idea of recording professionally was a dream come true, but she knew it was also a huge step. It would mean stepping out of her comfort zone and facing new challenges. I think I'd love that, Layla said, her voice filled with determination. Let's do it. The road ahead was still uncertain, but Layla felt ready to face it. She had come so far from the girl who had once doubted herself. With each note she played, each step she took, she knew she was getting closer to her dream.